Hey dudes, and welcome to another incredibly exciting, impressive, and absolutely engaging episode of the Leftover Culture Review, where if you have been following along at home, you know I've been working on a very special project where I am developing a whole series of artworks using nothing but Sega's very own us.I, which is like MS Paint but for a Mega Drive. So it's it hasn't been fun, but it has been incredibly frustrating and annoying, and I've done a whole bunch of these episodes I don't like, and tonight is absolutely no exception because this is the third one I'm recording and I'm still really not loving where I'm at with with this program. It's been a bit of a hassle, obviously coming up with a whole bunch of artworks using nothing but this program, but here we are doing it all over again, just because I really like the idea. I just love the idea of being able to develop original artwork using a Mega Drive. And obviously it's not like that different to using any other Paint application. Like I could be doing this in MS Paint if I wanted to, but I just love the Sega Mega Drive. Like it was, you know, my system growing up. It's the one that I really attached myself to and really fought for. Anything Sega related, I was just like a bit of a fanboy. So to be sitting here now at 33 years old, geez, that already looks terrible. 33 years old, less hair, and working on a longer hair, just less of it on top. And working on artwork using the same, you know, the same system that I had as a kid. Not the exact same system, but a Mega Drive. Yeah, I find that kind of fun. So here we go. I am working today. Oh, for anyone who hasn't been watching these episodes and this is your first one, this isn't normally what I try and do on the channel. I try and make it a little bit more interesting than watching a grown man sit alone in a garage and move a cursor around the screen. But for you very special guys and girls out there today, that's exactly what we're doing in Sega's us.I. There's obviously a few different tools on the system which I'm not using. Things like lines and circles and squares, and I don't really use the eraser that much. I usually use the paint bucket to erase what I'm doing, the spray can, the pencil, but for the most part, like actually using this mouse and arrow has been like the most simple, straightforward way to get those lines in that you want and give you a little bit more control when working in the application. So yes, if you want to follow along at home, that's the tool that I would recommend. Not that I would recommend following along at home because, yeah, it's been like a real exercise in patience. It's been torturous, and I guess what keeps me coming back is that I have absolutely loved the results that I've been able to come up with using this program. Like, I'm just going to break what I said before and actually use the eraser tool. Yes, I've really loved some of the results I've been able to achieve using this program. So it keeps me coming back to keep on trying. But it is frustrating and it doesn't work as well as, you know, most other ways you could be like drawing. It's weird to think like what was going through their mind at the time, because their probably primary competition to a game like us.I would be pen and paper, which is much easier to use. You can keep your picture after you've turned off the system or you've finished your drawing, and that makes it easy to share with people, and it would be a whole lot cheaper and less frustrating. But they forged ahead and they made an art application program for the Mega Drive. And I guess it's worked enough to want me to keep coming back, so it's not all bad news. So what I have decided to draw today is a dead mouse. Why a dead mouse, you ask? That is such a good question. No real reason. I just thought it would be... I've drawn a couple of dead mice in my time, or dead rats. I kind of use that term interchangeably because I'm not really defining what type of rodent I'm drawing here. It's just a dead rodent. But I remember I was working with this girl that really loved animals. And I made a comment one day that I didn't think fish had souls. Fish and birds are like, there's no souls in their eyes. They're just soulless creatures. And we got into like a bit of an argument, and obviously I wasn't being very serious because, well, I'm not really at work to debate the existence of souls. I was just being a bit of a troll. Not in a mean, not in a malicious way, just in a kind of jokey, they kind of freak me out way. So, yeah, we had this conversation about animals and how wonderful they are, which, look, I would never wish harm on any animal. I wouldn't want to wish harm on anybody either. Like, that's not really my thing. I'm just happy to stay in my lane and leave animals alone, and they can leave me alone. I won't, I don't have to pat your dog. But yeah, it was a funny conversation, and then it started to get me... it kind of got me to start thinking about like hunting animals. And how I would be a lot more comfortable... Well, I am a lot more comfortable with the idea of hunting a fish than, say, a cow or a mammal. And I did a whole bunch of pictures for my side of the desk, which I printed out and hung up, of like... what did I do pictures of? I did like a bird being hit by a bunch of arrows, and then I followed it up with a fish being hit by a bunch of arrows. And then finally, the final picture in this trio was a rat getting hit by a single arrow. And the rat was my favorite. And I'm not redrawing that rat here. I'm just drawing maybe the rat's brother or his cousin. His whole family is under attack. Yeah, so I'm not duplicating that, but that's kind of where I drew my first dead rat or mouse. And yeah, like I said, absolutely no hard feelings, nothing malicious against rodents. I don't love them, but they're whatever. They're fine, I guess. I don't really want them in the house, but yeah. Should that be... Maybe we'll make that black. I'm going to give it big X's over the eyes so that we know that this poor rodent has since parted. And then I feel like it needs teeth as well to really hammer home the fact that it is, in fact, a rodent. So I don't know if I really... I've only got one layer of undoing, so I can't keep undoing. I might come back to that. what I might do is... So what I'm going to do is make this particular rodent... I don't want to say it's like symbolism because I'm not really sure what it means yet, but I just thought it was a really cool idea if he was killed in action. And I always thought like skateboards looked a little bit like tombstones, and that's definitely like a motif that you see a fair bit too. So we might give our skateboarding mouse a bit of a grave here. Sorry, not a grave. What would you call it? Like a tribute sort of shrine on a skateboard. And if you guys want to come up with stories for like some of these pictures down in the comments, I would absolutely love that. Maybe like a skateboarder ran over the rodent and felt terrible and wanted to do the right thing by honoring the little guy. So I am recording all the gameplay footage on my laptop, which is why I keep looking down to try and make sure that you know, I've covered off all those little gaps and lines, especially for when I start using the paint bucket tool. And if you come all the way up to the top, then come back down here. So maybe it is a rat, because if that's the size of the skateboard, it's absolutely massive. One thing that does bug me about, you know, my favorite tool is the fact that if you go off the edge, you just keep going. I find that really annoying. So maybe the skateboard is blue. Fingers crossed it actually colors it all in. I don't like that color. Yeah, pink for the background. I do like a good bit of pink. Alright, now I feel like we're getting shape in terms of the composition, which when you're using Sega's Art Alive, I've obviously tried to keep all the compositions for the pictures pretty simple. Every time I try and do something a little bit more complicated, things don't exactly pan out the way I want them to. It's very easy in this program, or at least one of the big challenges I've had is like when you start with an idea and you kind of have an idea of how you want it to look on the actual canvas here, by the time you actually start drawing things in, they take up more space or less space, or it's really hard to get like the proportions right. And maybe by the end of this process I'll be like, damn, my proportions are great, but at the moment, like every time I boot this game up, it's a struggle to get it just the way I want it. And I can't be the only person that really struggles doing that in Art Alive. And like, I draw a lot. I said it in this episode already that I'm like a serial doodler. That's not what I wanted to do. So it is actually a little bit frustrating when you feel so limited by the tools. It also like really forces you to think a bit outside the box, try a bit harder, challenge, you know, the way you wanted the picture to look and just be a little bit more adaptive and adaptable, which is good, I guess. But yeah, it is still frustrating. So at this point, I'm just kind of like playing around with how I want to color this mouse. I probably will go back over some of these lines using a black pen tool just to give it a bit of structure and less loose lines, and make sure that it's very clear what's what. But I was kind of having fun trying to find what I want the shape of the mouse to be before putting down black lines. And it's done it again, it's gone out of the lines. How can I stop it, my friend? Just gotta find where the brakes are. Is that maybe a very, very tiny break there? Alright, now watch very closely if it goes out of the lines again. No, I found the break. In saying that, I am really enjoying the look of the pink on pink, and by drawing over the top of the lines I had there and then blocking in the colors, I kind of like how the different shades are showing up. No. There. So, is it worth going over it with black? So the undo tool, I know that I complain about the undo tool in this application a lot, just because it'll undo everything that you did with whatever tool you're using before. So if you were using the paint bucket tool and you color in 6 different areas, if you click undo, it'll undo everything that you did with the paint bucket tool. Which I find a bit frustrating, because obviously on a computer, if you make a mistake, you press Ctrl Z and it undoes the last thing you did. That's kind of the standard convention that we're all used to. Whereas in this game, undo undoes everything that you did. So if you were, I guess, using Photoshop, for example, and you were using the text tool and you were doing a couple of different lines in your artwork, and your very last one had a typo, so you press Ctrl Z and it undoes all the text. That's kind of how it feels. So what I might do is try and start on the leg and really try and nail out the structure for that. So if I can get the legs feeling right, I feel like the rest of our rodent will come together pretty smoothly, and then we can finish off the skateboard and add in some final finishing touches. Another thing that I've been trying to do with these episodes of Art Alive is actually finish these pictures in like a 45-minute window. Sometimes, some definitely have gone longer, but the idea of being able to finish without spending hours on a picture, because as soon as you turn that system off, your picture's gone. So yes, I've been trying to be very mindful about how much time I actually do spend on each of these, which has been good. Because when you start making those small details and small adjustments, yeah, you could find yourself very easily getting carried away for a while trying to make it perfect. I think in painting they call it alla prima, which is pretty much finishing your picture in one sitting. Not that I really want to compare what we're doing here to an artist using actual tools to put together their artwork. I'm a bit more humble than that. No, maybe it will go there. Alright, I've taken out too much of the tail now. Let's try and give our little rodent friend a bit more of a backshot. Yeah, waiting for the cursor to move is a bit of a pain. No. Alright, I'm gonna get in really close. Close that gap with the pencil tool. Now we can use the paint bucket. Yes, like I said, this whole working with this application has been like an exercise in frustration. Probably even worse if you kind of know what you want to achieve with it. What I'm not liking, I kind of really do want there to be teeth for our mouse guy. So I'm going to go ahead and do my best to try and work out how to add some teeth. Which might be a case of giving... And then we'll just give him big X's on this side because you wouldn't see the other side of the face if it's laying flat on its back. Wunderbar. And then I wonder if we can define the shape of the nose to be a bit more like that, and then put a little gap between the teeth like that. That looks stupid. Alright, so I've spared you guys a whole chunk of time as I was adding a bunch of details. Hopefully the picture looks like it's coming together a little bit better. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you are recording and you're in the thick of it and you're thinking, I think this is looking pretty good, but I've been staring at it for so long it's hard to know. But essentially what we've got is a dead rat on or a dead mouse on a skateboard. I kind of just wanted to make his tail look a bit damaged, so I drew through it. What I have wanted to add is two things to make this picture a little bit more complete. You know, if if this tiny arrow will cooperate. I wanted to add a couple of like flies buzzing around, but it's really hard to draw circles as it is with this tool. But trying to draw three very small circles. I might just have to try and even go smaller. Yeah, doing the 360 thing with the control pad is an absolute pain in the butt. And just as you think you're safe to start drawing, it twists in a weird way. We'll bring it down. The wings look a little bit big for a fly, but again, this tool has its challenges, and trying to draw with it is one of the challenges. And then finally, I thought it might be fun to add in, because it feels like a little bit of a tribute or a shrine, and I'm just having a little bit of fun playing with the symbolism of it all, because it's got that sort of deathbed feel. I'm just going to add a tiny crown of corn, because mice love corn. Ta-da! Logic. We still have it this late at night. And I've definitely seen more realistic corn, but I have also seen better ways to draw a picture. Again, pen and paper, instant classic. Art Alive isn't really doing anyone many favors. Alright guys, as far as dead rodents on skateboards go, this is it. I complain a lot about using Sega's Art Alive, but I wouldn't keep coming back unless I enjoyed some of the results that we got out of it. I think it's a really unique way to draw, especially when we have so many great digital options, but also so many basic options which work better, such as pen and paper. So Sega's Art Alive, to me, it fits into this weird void where digital art was finally accessible for people to do at home, but it didn't really quite match what was available, you know, just in your art supply store. So, one more piece down for my very own online virtual exhibition. The whole idea of developing a whole bunch of pieces using Art Alive was that I would love to put them all together and show them off. A whole gallery filled with designs done just using Sega's Art Alive. Some of them are going to be better than others, I admit that right now, but I did think filming this process, talking about the pieces, going through my frustrations with the application, and seeing them come together would be a really fun way to see a whole bunch of artwork. Like, a lot of the time you don't get to see all of the art being made. So this is my way to kind of experiment and play with that idea. Really hope you like what we've come up with for this episode, and I can't wait to see you back for the next one. I'm sure you might be dreading coming back after watching this. It's a lot of me sitting here looking at a screen, putting a little picture together, but I really appreciate you being here. Go check out I'll leave a link down below as well, leftoverculturereview.com, to see all this hard work in one place. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, stay tuned for more leftover culture. Cheers, guys.